Welcome back to another episode of the Sky Society podcast. Today I'm chatting with, whoops, let me resume that. Okay, try one more time. Welcome back to another episode of the Sky Society podcast. Today I'm chatting with Ashley Vargas. She is the product marketing manager at Google. She's been there for about 4 years, but has worked at a variety of industries, at Moroccan Oil, Super Smile, and several more. So we're going to go jump into her career journey, what she's learned along the way, and then also talk about some fun kind of, I guess, viral or just interesting marketing product launches and brands like Rhode and Rare Beauty and the Tarte trip that's coming on. So we have a lot of fun stuff in today's episode. So welcome, Ashley. Very excited to have you here.
Hey everyone, and thank you so much for having me, Natalie. I'm super excited to chat today about all things marketing and how I got into tech and about these viral marketing campaigns we've been seeing all over social media.
Yes, I'm super excited. Today's episode will be a very fun kind of little twist on what we normally do. So I'm excited to jump into all of that. But before we do, Ashley, can you tell me a little bit about who you are and what you do?
Of course. So I've been working in marketing for pretty much my entire career. As you mentioned, I work at Google. I've been there for 4 years on their ads marketing team. So on their ads marketing team, I oversee all of the different positioning and ad products that go into market for advertisers. And I, on my end, kind of work as an integrated marketing manager where I'll work with hundreds of different marketers across our organization to amplify their campaigns across our different channels like social media, our YouTube channel, also events as well, and digital events, because that's been increasingly popular. So I've been doing that for a couple years now. I've been in a couple different roles within Google. And prior to that, as you mentioned, I was in the beauty industry and also in the fashion industry at Lacoste. So been doing digital marketing for about 10 years now and absolutely love it.
Wow, it's interesting to see that you kind of bounced. I know now at Google you're working with different brands, so you're kind of touching different industries, but kind of going from beauty to fashion and then into tech. What has it been like working in tech? Because I know a lot of girls, especially I know you were interested in fashion and beauty, that's where they want to work. They maybe wouldn't be as excited about potentially a tech opportunity. So what has that been like in your experience?
Yeah, definitely. So, something that I realized about working in tech versus my other roles is that the job itself, so the marketing tactics and the strategies I do, don't really change that much from what I did in my prior work. But obviously, the subject of the work is really different. So, now I am marketing technology to businesses where before I was maybe marketing a hair oil to women between the age of 24 to 35, but my tactics are always the same. So I'm still using email marketing, I'm still using Instagram, now I'm using LinkedIn maybe instead of TikTok. And so kind of the toolbox is the same, which I appreciate. And yeah, I kind of fell into tech. I never really thought that I would kind of end up here. And so I was working in uh, beauty and was running different marketing channels, as mentioned, including Google Ads. And so Google kind of reached out to me while I was working at Lacoste, and they said that they wanted someone with Google Ads experience that really knew the product from the customer POV. And I had, spent my career running different ads across Google and also their competitors. So I definitely knew the product, knew the landscape, and thought, okay, I will give this a try. And I'll admit, actually, like the first year, I was like, this is very different. Like, what am I doing here? And I kind of had this moment where I was like, maybe a little bit of imposter syndrome and also another feeling of like, did I make the right choice? But I think it is really nice that since we work with so many businesses, I work with customers that come from the apparel space, the beauty space, some that come from like the automotive space. And kind of having that variety in my day to day work, I think makes things really interesting.
So, what was that imposter syndrome like, or that first year? What kind of eventually clicked for you? Because you've been there for a really long time. So, I gotta assume that something clicked that was like, okay, I'm actually gonna stay here. I'm not gonna go leave. What kind of changed for you? Was it a role change? Was it just kind of having that realization that you get to try different things, or what made you realize like, oh no, wait, like I do enjoy this, or I do feel like I belong here?
Yeah. So it was it's kind of, I guess, I'm starting to realize now in my career and after being there for a while that imposter syndrome is quite normal in Google and even outside of Google. Everyone, experiences imposter syndrome at some point, I think, in their life or in their career. And I think at Google specifically, you're working at this massive company with hundreds of thousands of people. And people have worked their whole entire career to get to this point. A lot of people have been like really intentional about the different jobs they took to get to this point. And you're really working among some of the brightest, smartest people. And people coming from other really big tech companies like Amazon, Meta. And a lot of the times I was, why did they hire me? And like, especially when, there's this learning curve that a lot of people don't talk about in their first couple months at the job, where you don't get things right away. And so, I would have reviews with my manager and he'd be like, "Oh, I would do things this way." And I was like, "Oh man, like I really thought that that was like the right thing, that I had like the right plan and the right recommendation, and maybe my manager had a different recommendation." And so, how I kind of combated that was, it was really interesting. I kept kind of going back to like the three things that I knew I was really good at, and then reminding myself that that's what makes me me, and other people have other things they might be really good at. So maybe my one colleague is really good at writing, but I know I'm really good at creativity and strategy work. And so I would always go back to that. And I realized like that was kind of what made me unique, what got me there was kind of my secret weapon that no one else like could kind of replicate on my team. And so I think that really helped me. And then also kind of seeing that other people have imposter syndrome too, like really successful people. Like I'll listen to TED Talks about people that have, such great resumes and have done like the most amazing work, and they have imposter syndrome. And I'm like, okay, well, if they have it, that's a very normal human experience.
Yeah. And I love your example there of focusing or first really identifying what your strengths are and understanding that you're on this team because you provide, like you said, I provide something that not everybody else can provide. It doesn't mean you need to have, excel in every single area and in all of them, but that you're really secure, or at least you can kind of go back to that and be like, okay, I'm really good at these things. And that can kind of help give you some of that confidence and just knowing that, like you said, other people have it as well. So it's not like you're the only one that's struggling with that feeling.
Yeah, definitely.
So working in performance marketing and with Google Ads, like throughout your career, I'm curious as to what kind of have been the biggest changes that you've seen now, or what you think the future looks like in this space.
Yeah, that's such a great question because I think the space has changed so much. I think AI is going to play a really big
Yeah.
role in how we're doing our jobs. And I mean, it will, I think, change the way we work in such a positive way. But I understand it also could be really scary because it's this new technology, it's a new skill set that we all have to learn. But I do think if marketers are adapting and willing to learn, that they're going to really set themselves up to be potentially a leader or just a really attractive candidate in the market space. And so I've told a lot of recent grads or people starting out in their career when they're like, what can I do to stand out? I'm like, well, learn AI, like, or use AI to
Mm.
apply to more jobs quickly. And so I think that there's just so many things we can now do. So I think that is one piece. And then there's kind of this other piece that has been kind of existing for the past couple years around influencer marketing that I think is also really interesting. And even coming from working at Google from a B2B company, like it's crazy. There's ads influencers now and they are really valuable. And like this could be just as valuable as your traditional ad that you would see. And in fact, I actually think that people are resonating more with this type of content because it's more authentic than your just traditional ad that you'd see on your TV or your ad that you would see on Instagram. So I think that that's another interesting space that has already it's already a massive industry, but I think more and more brands, as you've been seeing, as you know, brands like Tarte and Stod, they're investing in a lot of PR and influencer marketing. It's obviously proving ROI to their business in some way.
Yeah, it is interesting to see how that space has changed. I know AI is massive, and I think we're in this interesting space as marketers where we're all like, okay, we know we need to use it. It's still not there where it can like, replace the ad copy that you write yourself, but like it can definitely assist in a lot of different ways. And so I love that piece of advice you shared for if you're newer in your career and you want to stand out is just like practicing with it and like getting used to it. And so you actually understand. My little side note, but my little brother, I have a little brother, he's in high school and he is obsessed with ChatGPT. Like it is so funny. Like he's making his study guides with ChatGPT.
I love
He pulls it out at that like during the day, he just pulls it out all the time for like random stuff. And we all tease him for it, but also like he's learning how to use it so much. And
that.
that even though he's using it for like silly things with like him and his friends playing video games or whatever they're using it for, it's still a skill that you're picking up on. And so if you are
Yeah,
just kind of getting more used to using it for everyday things, then you'll later on be better at applying it to your job as well.
I 100% agree with that. And something that is funny with AI is that your little brother, for example, would never admit to his teachers that he's using AI
No.
to do his homework. When you're in the corporate world, that mindset actually shifts a little bit where, I'm all about work smarter, not harder. I mean, obviously, you need to work hard, but when there's ways where you could reduce a tedious task by
Mhm.
1 hour, like, yeah, absolutely do that and use AI. I've talked to someone on my team before where they gave me this brief and it just needed a lot of revving on it and a lot of work and um, kind of the copy that the person used like could have been simplified a lot more and was like, did you use at the time Bard, which is our equivalent to Chat
Mhm.
GPT? I was like, did you use Bard? And no. And they're like really defensive about it. And I'm like, well, you should.
Ah.
And kind of, I think even anyone that's listening, when they're in the workplace, kind of being that change agent to be like, hey, we should be doing this because if you're not doing it, other companies are doing it, and you're going to just be left behind. So it's kind of this elephant in the room now, but it's like on our team, we kind of take pride in it. We're like, look at this strategy that I put together, and everyone's like, oh, it's so good. And then you're like, thanks, I used Gemini or I used, we obviously are using our Google products, but if you use Chat GPT, you could kind of say the same thing. So I think it's really exciting and only has potential to be better in the future.
I'm so glad you made that point, Ashley, because I never actually thought of it that way, but you are so true. Like he's not telling his like it's a bad thing, right? The teachers are going to get mad
Yeah.
if they're using, even though he's not using it to cheat in any way, he's using it to make his study guides, but like that's still frowned upon versus it can be celebrated in the workplace and that you don't need to feel like you're quote unquote cheating when you're using a new tool when that, especially when that tool is going to be the future of what, what everybody eventually will be using. Very interesting way that you put that there. I love that. Okay. I also want to talk because you mentioned some stuff about new hires and that you kind of give some guidance to recent graduates who are younger and are applying to jobs. What other advice do you have when it comes to standing out in the job market or really standing out when you're applying to jobs that you feel like are much more competitive?
Yeah. I think that I've been hearing a lot lately that the job climate is really tough and it's really hard to stand out, and people are applying to hundreds of jobs and they're not getting interviews. Advice that I got was I have so much advice on this, but an advice I got recently from someone who is actually a product manager. So she had a very technical way of going about this was if you're applying to, for example, 10 jobs and you don't get a interview from all of those 10 jobs, take a pause and think, what does my resume look like? Like, how am I applying and like, how can I improve? If we're continuing to do something and not getting the results we want, I think it totally makes sense to kind of pause and be like, okay, maybe my resume could be improved. And so looking at your resume and reviewing it and thinking, like, am I actually tailoring this to the job descriptions and the jobs that I want? When you're applying, are you following up with any hiring manager on LinkedIn? Are you reaching out to a recruiter after you apply? Are you tapping into your network to see if someone knows someone that works there? And so I think that kind of, if you're doing something and it's not working, pausing and seeing like what you can do to improve. And I know that's really hard when you're like in it and you're like, it's easier said than done. Um, and then I think the other thing is, if you have a current job, what are you doing in that current job that is there anything else you could do in that current job that could get you the job that you want? So, for example, say you work at a company and you're managing their email marketing and you want to change jobs because you want to go into social media marketing. So instead of being like, oh, I'm not getting any interviews because they want someone with like direct social media marketing and I don't have that, is there an opportunity in your current role to ask your manager or another team, hey, I really want to do this and I have a strong passion in this and I will work maybe a couple hours extra just so you could have that on your resume. And your company is going to take a chance on you because they know the work that you produce, and maybe you're the best email marketer and they're like, what, this person's going to be a really good social media marketer. So I think looking within your current role and seeing um, if there is other opportunities for you to kind of get the job you want. And sometimes it's not obvious. Like, I heard of someone that was a makeup artist and she was looking to get into marketing. She's like, well, my makeup business, like, this has nothing to do with marketing. This is like, I'm putting makeup on people. I'm like, well, that's not true. Like, how do you get your clients? Like, you're obviously marketing. Like, do you post on your social media? She's like, yeah. I'm like, well, I would say build a marketing strategy to attract X% of customers by using XYZ channels. And I never thought about it that way. And so I think that there are probably ways that, no pun intended, you could better market yourself to get the marketing job you want.
I love that. Okay, so we have taking a step back and assessing, okay, if I'm applying to jobs and it's not working, what could it possibly be? And like keep trying new things instead of just doing the same thing over and over and trying to expect different results. And then the other one is looking inward. So if you are at a role, like what can you do at that job to help you better qualify for the job that you're looking for? I love the example of the hairstylist of like, okay, she has her own side hustle. And so what is she doing? I think there's a lot of girls, you may be a creator on TikTok and you may not have hundreds of thousands of followers, but you may be
Yeah,
doing something to grow your platform. And that is a really incredible thing that you can share.
I agree. Yeah, I think especially in the world of social media, there's so much at our fingertips that we could just create on our own. And you could create and use TikTok, for example, as your portfolio and bring that to an interview and say how you grew your profile by X%. I would be so impressed by that. So I think like don't take those like little things for granted.
Yeah, I think that's great advice. And I know um a lot of the women that listen to the podcast are eagerly hoping to make moves in their career, whether it be starting and getting their first marketing job or just moving into a different role. I want to talk about certifications really quickly because I know Google has just so many incredible certifications. I would love to hear your opinion on those for your resume, like which ones to take, how many to take, and if you do believe that they're helpful in the application process.
Yeah, that's a great question. I have actually taken a couple certifications in my career, and I have thought about continuing to get a couple more certifications. And I think it really depends on, like, it goes back to your current job and the skill sets that you're getting there, the skill sets that you have, and then what are your gaps? And for the next job you want, like how do you fill that gap? And sometimes you can't do that in your current job. And so I think that's when the certification piece comes in handy. And so I think that is one piece of it. And so maybe you want to get into project management. Like there's so many courses on that and so many certifications on that. Or maybe it's something more technical, like UX design or photography or graphic design. And I think that having some type of like design knowledge, whether you're like, you don't need to be a designer, but having some design knowledge could be really helpful these days at companies, just to like create a social media asset quickly on the fly.
Mhm.
Um, and then I specifically, before I joined Google, got a certification in Google Analytics, and also Google Ads. And I was already doing those things in my current job, but I just felt like I could get better and I wanted to level up. And it was really hard because I was actually on a team where a lot of people didn't know how to use these products super well. And so it wasn't like I could ask, a colleague, hey, can you teach me more about Google Analytics? And so I realized like I wanted to be kind of the leader in that and kind of be the expert at my company. So I kind of sought that out. And then now in my career, I'm more focused on the softer skills and honing that. And so, not exactly certification, but about a year ago, I actually enrolled in improv. And I thought that that was something that really helped me with public speaking and also just executive management and just relationships in the workplace and getting that skill set. It's not your like improv, it's not your standard certification.
Yeah.
I would never put that on my resume, but it was something that was like in a non-traditional way really worth my time. And I treated it like I was getting like a certification in Google Ads.
That is amazing and so smart. I mean, I think if more people took improv, it'd give you one more confidence just speaking
Yeah.
in general. And like you said, too, being able to speak on the fly probably helps you perform better in interviews, helps you perform better when you're presenting anything to higher level execs. That is I had a lot of ideas of what you were going to say, what your certification was. Improv was not one of them, but I think that's such a great idea. And you found that it helped you a lot?
It helped me night and day. And so I used to be so nervous with public speaking, and I would just get the worst anxiety. And if someone asked me a question that was off my script, be like deer in headlights. Like, how do I answer this? But with improv, like the whole point is it's like you have to get comfortable with the unknown. And so in those classes, it really just forced me to get outside my comfort zone and go off script because you never knew what your partner was going to say and be comfortable with the uncomfortable. Like a lot of stuff that happens in the workplace could be really awkward sometimes. And, you just have to get comfortable with that and know, like, awkward things happen throughout the day. There could be awkward or difficult situations that happen in a meeting when two people disagree. And I think that improv has also helped me find levity in situations. Like, not everything has to be so serious. And just kind of bringing in that levity at work, I think is really helpful because, like, we've all been there where you're like, everyone's just so serious and you're like, come on, like, we're just doing marketing. Like, it's not that serious.
I love that. I'm also super curious. So I absolutely 100% am sold on improv. I'm going to start recommending that to people that are like, what certification I should take? Improv. I think that's incredible. And then also what you mentioned there too, just about bringing some more levity to your life and to work. Incredible. I'm curious because you mentioned that now, so earlier in your career, you focused on the harder skills. You got the Google Analytics certification. I always recommend that certification. And the Google Ads, there's several different ones. If you look at Google Skills Shop, it's a incredible resource and they're always all free. So it's awesome. If you haven't checked it out, check it out. I'm curious though, for the softer skills, now that you're more established in your career, you did improv. Are there any other of like those types of classes you're looking at? Are there any other soft skills you're looking to build?
Yeah. One thing that I am looking to build is I'm trying to think of like the best way to kind of summarize because it's kind of a lot, but a lot of it is like the how do you build better executive presence is one piece. So um that could mean presenting, and improv, for example, helps with that. But then also, something that I've been realizing a lot is conflict is very normal. And I think throughout my career, I used to be like, oh, like that's conflict. That's really bad. Like, I don't want to drive conflict, or I don't want to drive like a different POV, and I don't want to rock the boat. But now I find that it's quite normal, and it's quite normal to have different POVs. But I think going to the table with an executive and being like, this is my idea, and the executive has a different POV, like that could be quite scary. And I think that there is an art to being able to persuade someone and to have conflict with someone in a professional way. And so I think that that's something I'm looking to just get better at. And there's little skills that I've built along the way from just talking to people about. So someone said every time that they know they're going to have conflict, they always start off with saying, I hear what you're saying, and this is my POV. And instead of just going and saying, this is my POV, it's just saying, I hear what you're saying. And that's such a subtle thing that we all could easily do. But little things like that, I think, could really go a long way when you're trying to negotiate something. So I think that that is definitely one thing I'm trying to get better at over time.
That is such an underrated but such an important skill. It reminds me, I remember I had this, there's like a few professors in college that just like will always stick with you for the rest of your life. There was one
Yeah.
professor I had, he was sales, and it was this like the new first time they did this class, and it was really small, but he talked about how whatever job you get, a percentage, he did like some breakdown, but it was like 25% of your job is going to be selling internally. And figuring out how to do that is such an important skill. And I love the example you shared there as well. But I found that a lot of negotiation books and sales books are actually super helpful in that area. Even though you're like, well, I'm doing marketing, or you can be in some other career, but just knowing those communication tactics are so important. I've learned like a bunch of little skills that have helped me even with like family like arguments, and just like understanding how to navigate that. So it's such a good skill that will help like in your career, in your personal life, in your relationships. And I think the career side is definitely more unique about how you navigate conflict. But I think that more people should really be focused on building that, because you're absolutely right. It's such a great skill.
Yeah. And I will say, exactly to your point, so much of your job is that internal piece. And I actually think the higher up you go in your career, it's like less about how do you build a marketing plan, or how do you analyze data, to, all right, like trying to solve for, maybe getting a bigger budget on something, or um, having these two big plans and persuading someone to do plan A versus plan B. And so I would say, like, 70% of my job is that internal, um, presenting and strategizing and kind of going through different conflicts and managing different stakeholders. And it's not something that we really ever learn, it's definitely something that you have to continue to build at. And I think coaching is also really good. So
Mhm.
I've had a coach before, who I met with on like a weekly basis about different situations that would happen at work. And also therapy also helps as well. A big part of this could be like letting go of your ego and being really open to feedback. And so find a combination of those things could be really helpful.
Yeah. And I think like go understanding what you bring in a conflict, right? Like everyone,
Yeah.
everyone I think has different reactions to that based off of whatever you've experienced in the past. So being aware of that, like by just doing something like therapy, could be
Yeah.
immensely helpful. I remember the first like experience I had with this type of like internal selling was, I think marketers, a lot of marketers experience this, is just like trying to get more budget for whatever your idea is. Like I feel like you start to experience that earlier on in your career, because marketing, I feel like, is always competing with like others, like sales. Everyone wants to give money there, but like marketing is always like, no, we need more budget. And sometimes it's harder to prove that it's worth
Mhm.
it. And so I think if you can kind of build that young and start early, it will be immensely helpful throughout your career.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, Ashley, this has just been, I love this piece of it. I'm just like diving into this part, but I want to make sure we can kind of get to the other topics we have today. So my last question for you here before we switch into talking about some of the fun marketing campaigns is, what other advice do you have for young women in marketing, or kind of what do you wish you knew earlier in your career that you think would be helpful?
I would say celebrate the little wins, because eventually the little wins add up into is your career, and you're going to look back and be like, I can't believe I accomplished that. So I think a lot of the times in my career I would do something and then I would just move on and chase the next challenge and move on to the next project. And sometimes at work, I'm lucky now that I have a team who does celebrate a lot of wins, but I've been in situations where that wasn't always the case. And you can't really rely on other people to celebrate those wins. Like, I think you just need to be your own cheerleader. And I think that, again, helps with like the imposter syndrome, because when you have all of those wins in your pocket, you could remind yourself, like, oh, yeah, look at all that I've accomplished. Look at how far I've come. And I think that that is really important, like especially when you're applying to jobs. It's like, no, think about like everything on your resume, like you were able to complete a whole page of accomplishments and you have a whole page of experience. And I think there was a time where I didn't even have a page, and so I like, maybe like you only had a paragraph. And so kind of celebrating that and not taking that for granted, um because eventually that's going to be your career that you're looking back on.
I love that. I wish someone had told me that when I was younger because I ended up burning myself out and never thinking I was enough because I just whenever something I really wanted, I achieved it, it would be okay, now I want something else. And I know that's human nature and we understand that on some level, but doing small little things to celebrate yourself, even if it's just like getting a dessert on your way home from work or, treating yourself to like a coffee or like whatever the little things are. The advice or I have all of our accelerator students do is create a self-confidence list where you write down everything you're proud of yourself for, and it can be career or personal related, and then what those things tell you about yourself. So it's like, I'm proud of myself for, getting this job at Google. That tells me that I'm, you know, whatever that tells you. You're smart, you're capable, you can do whatever you set your mind to. And then in times when you're feeling that imposter syndrome, because life comes in waves, you're going to feel like super like a superhero. Some weeks, other weeks, you're going to be like, oh my gosh, like I'm doing everything wrong. That you can kind of like pull out that list and read it to yourself and remind yourself of all the things that you're proud of yourself for, because you're so right. No one else really is going to be telling you that as often as you need to hear it, and you kind of have to take responsibility for that aspect, I think.
I love that. That confidence list is something that I think I need to implement. Because even in like the bad days where you're like, oh, I just had this really bad meeting, that means I'm awful at my job. Like it's so quickly to go back
Yes.
to those worst
Yes.
case scenarios, but being like, actually, no, because I had all of these other accomplishments,
Mhm.
and that is totally in conflict with the me being bad at my job because I've actually done all of those things. And I think it just gets you back to that. So I think that that is a wonderful recommendation.
I need to find out the TED Talk I saw that from, but I saw he did this. I forget who he was. I'll have to find him. I'll put it in the show notes for this episode. But he kind of talked about how he did something similar. Anytime you can like keep it in your desk or just like have it in your Notion or your notes app, and then just like pull it up when you're feeling, because then when you're feeling down, because I know our minds switch so quickly whenever
Yeah.
we kind of go through something negative. Um, so yeah, okay. We're going to take a little switch now and talk about kind of some more, I don't know what to call them, more like trendier marketing campaigns that are happening right now because I think they're very fun to dissect. I want to start because you mentioned influencers earlier. So I want to start with a little influencer discussion and just hear your thoughts. Specifically, I want to start with Tarte because I think right now they're doing their big tripping with Tarte. They did it last year. Last year got a ton of negative press. This year, you're seeing mixed. I'm seeing girls be like, I would never buy from Tarte because of all this money they're spending on influencers, but obviously they're doing it because it must work. So would love to hear kind of what you think about all of that.
Yeah, I find it so interesting because in a way, the whole philosophy behind PR is any PR is good PR. And so even though people are saying these negative things, is that a win for them at the end of the day? Because are they just trying to like increase share of voice? And um it's a lot of money. Like we've been seeing videos, $100,000 for a jet from LA to Bora Bora that they're sending people on. And so my marketing brain is always like, oh my gosh, the budget that is being spent on that. Um, but something that I actually realized was how myself this goes to this other topic that I think we're going to talk about around Beyonce's hair care line is they I don't think did a lot of influencer marketing prior to their launch. I actually saw some PR packages go out a little bit after the launch, but there wasn't really anything like the day of the launch. And I kind of felt like, oh, like this is weird. Like, how am I going to know if this product is good before I buy it? Like, I don't want to be the first one to try it to know like if it's this good product. And I was also like, yeah, there's just not that much momentum about it. So, like, I realized that these brands are kind of starting to train you to like the more you see them, the more you think about them when you're going to buy a new concealer, for example. So it's interesting. And like if I was the director of this brand, is this what I would be spending my money on? I don't know. I'd have to look at the math and see if it's mathing, but I think it is definitely interesting.
It's I love that point there of well, Beyonce, it's sacred. That's how you pronounce it, I believe, but it's like incredible products. I think they did a really great job with the branding and whatnot. But you're absolutely right about I didn't see anything, see any like influencers like try the hair products or anything like that. And maybe they did. I haven't seen a ton on my For You page. And it's almost like brands are I feel like they're forced into participating with influencers because if you don't, then it almost feels like nobody is talking about your brand. I know when Kylie Jenner at Kai, she started her drops. I think she like was like no influencers, and then now for her most recent one, sent out all the outfits to influencers for them to try on. Where I think brands, it's kind of like a sale. It's like some brands are like, we don't do sales, right?
Yeah.
Never do a sale, and I think some brands were trying to do that with influencers. Is like we don't do that, but then are kind of like, well, we almost have to because it's almost just become the nature of what this industry looks like now.
Yeah, especially in the beauty and fashion space. And it's interesting that you say that Kylie Jenner's brand didn't want to work with influencers, especially because
Harley's
Kylie
like the influencer.
the
Yeah.
family, they're the biggest influencers out there. But I think we will be seeing more of that because I don't know if you heard about the Row. They had a fashion show this week, and they invited, I think, maybe some influencers. They definitely invited re- reporters and editors from big magazines, but they actually said you can't take any photos, like, and you can't post anything on social media, and they banned that. And some of the editors were really mad because they want to report on these pieces. This is the whole reason why they get invited. And Ashley, Mary Kate are just saying, no, we're not doing that. And I think it's actually really smart for Ashley and Mary Kate. And they probably don't want to be known as that, the Row, to do that because the whole point of the Row is that they're this exclusive brand and it's not for everyone. They're selling really expensive handbags. And I think maybe bringing in influencers, some brands might think that they're, making it more accessible to people, and they don't want that, and they want to kind of remain in this their own space where there can't be dupes of them that float up, and that is kind of like maybe the definition of luxury. So it's interesting kind of seeing these conflicting things come up, and kind of the luxury space is kind of trying to pull away from that. But I don't know, it's hard. I mean, Chanel like participates with influencers. So like who's to
Yeah.
say that doing influencer marketing it tarnishes your brand? I mean, we're obviously saying that there's a lot of benefits to it.
That's a very interesting example, for the Row, because I think that, but then people talk about that. People talk about that they couldn't post about it. So it's
Yeah.
still creating conversation, and I think works to kind of what they're trying to do is build something that's more exclusive. And I know I randomly I just toured the Soho House here in Austin, and one of the things they say is like you can't take pictures like inside, or they're trying to like build this vibe of like, oh, there's people here that don't want to be photographed, but I mean maybe rarely. I mean we're in Austin, so much different audience here. But I was like, oh, they're trying to kind of make this feel very exclusive, like you can't post that you're here. And so I think that's interesting is that maybe brands that take like the complete opposite approach, like 180, may also find success without the
Yeah.
influencers.
Because it is marketing. It's a
Yeah.
different set of marketing that they're leveraging. So even though it seems like they're doing something that's anti-marketing, it's still marketing because at the end of the day,
Yeah.
it's like how do you want to be perceived to the world and to the public and to your customers?
Yeah. I'm also curious with we're talking about celebrity brands and kind of their approaches. And I know you have a passion for beauty. So I'm also really curious on your thoughts. We'll do Rhode and Rare Beauty. Rhode, Hailey is very much the face of, like all of her campaigns are her. I feel like it heavily relies on her promoting her own products versus Rare. Selena is definitely like still a part of it and still the face. But I kind of get I feel like the product relies less on her being there and
Yeah,
then to promote it
yeah.
for it to perform well. What are your kind of thoughts on each of those brands and kind of how their celebrity founders play roles in the branding?
Yeah, it's super interesting because I feel like without Haley and Road wouldn't exist. But when I kind of look at Rare without Selena, like Rare would still exist. Like it still has this brand identity. For example, when they have campaigns, a lot of the times I see like a lot of different models, and Selena's not always the face of the campaign. I mean, she's still posting about it and still has like a brand, a photo shoot for a big campaign, but it's not, she's not so forward facing, I feel like, that than Rhode is. And obviously they've both had great success in different ways, and hate to kind of compare Selena versus
And Hailey, I
Haley.
know.
Yeah, they're two celebrity beauty brands that have kind of risen in at the same time frame, and it makes me think if Haley wanted to take a step back in her career, or potentially, I mean, we've seen, different scandals or different waves of people just moving the likability of, like, okay, one day they decide that they don't like Haley and then the other day they do. So I think your brand then relies so much then on someone's personal image. And I think that could be really difficult, and I imagine, like, especially from, their marketing team's perspective, like always kind of having to rely on, this celebrity and kind of their PR to ensure that their product does well. So I do think, like, it's like you still need to be involved in the brand. And both women are involved in the brand, just in different ways. But I like bring Ariana Grande also into this because she has a beauty brand, and I feel like she's not involved in her brand at all. And then that comes off as like
She doesn't
not,
care about it. It comes off,
yeah, she doesn't care
yeah.
about it. She's just doing this for a money grab. And so there needs to be kind of this fine balance. And I think that Selena's brand really is like achieved that,
Mhm.
where I think she's built a lot of credibility in the beauty space. Like, makeup artists love using her products. And she sells in Sephora and it's super accessible. Even if like a product sells out, it comes back right in stock. So I really like the kind of the approach that she's taken there with her brand. And I think there's a lot of longevity there.
I think that analogy or that example, like Skims comes to mind. Like Kim Kardashian has launched multiple product lines throughout her celebrity career, and she's normally the face, and their name it's KKW Beauty, and it's all her. Versus Skims definitely stands alone without her, right? She's still promoting it, and she's still a big part of it, but it's a brand that stands alone, and I think that, in my opinion, is one of the biggest markers of a celebrity brand that is successful, is where it doesn't solely rely on that celebrity promoting that brand. The
Well,
brand still has power without it.
yeah, because, if something were to happen to that celebrity, next month, like you still want that brand to have legs. And you know, like, celebrities can be so polarizing. Like, everyone has opinions on them.
Yes.
And so, like, you don't want someone not to buy your product, your, lip liner, because they really dislike you as a person. It's like, no, you don't want them to think about that. You want them to be like sold on the product because of it's a good product. And that should speak for itself.
Yeah. Oh, okay. I feel like we could do a whole another episode on this topic alone. It's super fun dissecting these brands, just kind of like seeing what they're doing and just seeing like how marketing is evolving. So my last question for you before we wrap up is I'm just curious, what is your favorite celebrity brand?
Ooh, good question. So I actually love Rare Beauty's products, but I will say that I am a sucker for Rode. And so the phone case came out this week, and I was like right at, I think it was at 12 p.m. like clicking on the text message to go add it to my cart. And I would say the number one miss was I don't think that they had phone cases for the Pro Max. Maybe they did and I missed it, but I saw it for the 15 Pro. And then I think that they also didn't have phone cases for like the 14s, etc.
I bought the 15 Pro Max phone
Oh,
case.
you did.
Yes, they had 14 and 15 Pro and Pro Max.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
Listen, I must have missed it. And so then it said like pre-order it for April. And I was like, I don't want to pre-order this for April. Like, will it even be cool in April? I'm like, no, forget about it. And I just kind of moved on. And like, yes, I do think it will be cool in it. That was just me being really impatient of being like,
Yeah.
April, it's so far away. It's really not. Um,
Wait, I'm real quick. So because I put a thing on my calendar.
yeah,
I love the lip peptide. Like I have chronic chapped lips, and it's been like the only thing that's really helped my lips not be chapped. So my friend and I both love Rode. We put like a thing on on our work calendars to like go by the
yeah.
shop. I missed it by like several hours, and I went to go get it, and it was the same. It said pre-order in April. So that means the whole time it was pre-order, you could never actually buy it.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm pretty
Wild.
sure.
I thought like it was pre-order for me because I ordered it late.
No, I ordered it. I tried to order it right on time,
What?
and I saw the pre-order button and I was like, that's so misleading. They're saying like
Yeah.
it's launching now, but they only had like very select types for their phone. And I forgive Rode because they're not like a tech accessory company. So they
Yeah.
probably didn't think all of these things through, that like most of their audience probably doesn't have the 15 specifically, but like you're not really launching all of these phone cases then on this day because a lot of
Yeah.
people to pre-order. So I thought the concept genius, the
Hmm.
marketing leading up to it genius, but I think that
Yes.
was a perfect example of execution of it fell short. Because they would have obviously increased so many sales. Like they just missed a sale out on me because I wasn't willing to pre-order and wait because I wanted it
Mhm.
now. And that's how customers are these days. Like we see this all
Yeah.
the time where people just want things now with Amazon 2 day
Yeah.
2 day delivery. So it's interesting.
That's wow. They definitely should have had a batch that was available to ship now for those who were like really excited and showed up exactly when the drop was. And then the people that forgot can do the pre-order. The last thing I'll say is that I also wish they did. So I bought it I guess I bought that for a giveaway for Sky Society. So little sneak peek. We're doing a giveaway with the Rode
So
the phone
excited.
case. But the reason was the giveaway is because I have the iPhone 12. And so I wish they also like did it in some of
Yeah,
the older
exactly.
phones. Because
Other
yeah, not everybody has a fifth. And I know it's hard. They're a smaller company. They don't have as many resources as like the bigger companies do. But I feel like most younger people, especially, aren't able to afford buying a new iPhone every time a new iPhone comes out. So they likely have older iPhones. And so I
exactly.
think they also just missed it. A lot of people just couldn't get it because they didn't have that iPhone. I know me and all my friends fell into that camp.
Yeah, I was really surprised to see like how limited it was. Like I'm pretty sure it was only available at that day. It was the 15. Um, yeah, just the 15. Like
Wow.
the plus, not the Pro Max,
Not
like
the
the bigger
Pro.
one. It was just like
Yeah.
the regular 15. Um, but it's interesting. But you did say, like, did you say you bought the lip tint?
I bought the lip tint. I bought the giveaway we're doing for Sky Society is the phone case. It's the 15 Pro Max and then the lip tint. I bought one lip tint for me and one lip tint for the giveaway. So I did
The
I
two
haven't
sizes. that's the brilliant thing about it was everyone came there for the phone cases. And I guarantee you that so many people ended up not buying the phone case because of this issue, the
Uh-huh.
availability issue, and then ended up buying the lip tint, me
Yeah.
included. I walked out with a lip tint and I was like, I guess I'm going to get a lip tint then,
Yeah.
um, because I didn't want to wait for the phone. So I still think it kind of probably worked to their favor. Like, did I think that they had probably great sales that day? Yes. Probably sold a lot of lip tints, which is a win for them. I don't think they ever intended for like this phone case to go as viral. So the fact that they kind of pulled this off, whether it was
Mhm.
actually an intentional launch or not, I'm not really sure. I think is really cool.
Yes. And our last thing I'll throw in there too is that the designer of the phone case, he also was in charge of a lot, or he designed so many of Glossier's
I
iconic.
saw that. That's so cool.
Yeah. So that was also really cool that they worked with him to create something like this. Um,
Yeah.
which yeah, she does a really great job marketing. Then the whole Erewhon, like doing a little scratch, the Valentine's Day scratch cards, like it was very well marketed. But yeah, I think you're right. The execution just fell a little bit short with how they did that.
Yeah. I even saw Justin Bieber had the phone case too.
You
And I'm like,
did.
this is this is just too good.
Well, I'm gonna still try. I'm gonna see if maybe the 15 Pro Max will fit my 12 Pro Max. Well,
Yeah, yeah. Maybe we could put like some stuffing around it or
yeah.
something to make it work.
Although I don't know why Apple has to like change their iPhone by the slightest amount every
I
single
know.
time. It's so frustrating. I've been trying to buy a new phone case forever, but nothing sells a 12 Pro Max just because
That's so annoying.
I know. I know. Um, all right. Well, Ashley, thank you so much. This was such a fun conversation. I loved learning all of the different tips you had for career growth and standing out on the job hunt, and also just talking about all of this brand stuff is also so fun. So, thank you so much for coming on the Sky Society podcast. It has been a blast.
Thank you so much for having me. And it was great connecting with everyone from Sky Society. I don't know. Do you have like a name for what you call the group?
I
Because
just
they're
call
in
it Sky Society Girls, and then the group is called This is just Sky Society LinkedIn group, Women in Marketing LinkedIn group.
Okay, so it was great talking to the Sky Society girls, and really fun. And would love to connect with people as well on LinkedIn or anything like that. And I'm joining the LinkedIn group as well. So
Yay!
um, I'm happy to like pop in there and answer any questions.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Ashley. This was so fun.
So fun. Bye.